The first time the female CEO visited her assistant's rural hometown, she noticed something strange. Every shop in town was named after his family surname. That made her start to wonder. The assistant who had worked by her side for 3 years might be a hidden heir to a wealthy family.
Didn't tell me about all the family businesses, honey.
After arriving, she was picked up everywhere by a private car. Even getting to his house required a speedboat. And when she finally saw the assistant's mansion with her own eyes, she was left completely speechless. What she never expected was that this unexpected countryside trip would change the rest of her life. Margaret was a newspaper executive earning over $1 million a year. Her position in the company was extremely powerful, second only to the owner. But her tough and dominant image earned her a private nickname among employees. They called her the Witch. Andy, on the other hand, was just an ordinary assistant. He ran himself ragged every day for work. He had to stay right behind Margaret at all times and run across 10 blocks every morning just to buy the exact coffee she wanted. If Andy bought the wrong coffee, Margaret would make him work overtime at night as punishment. Andy had endured this for 3 full years. During that time, he barely had a single vacation. No matter what personal matter he had, Margaret never allowed him to take time off. She was quite satisfied with this always-on-call assistant. But as a senior executive, she believed in absolute fairness. Even if the deputy editor made a mistake, she showed no mercy.
Bob, I'm letting you go.
Margaret said bluntly that Bob was lazy at work and constantly taking time off. For someone unwilling to contribute value to the company, it was time to leave. Her arrogant attitude instantly triggered his rage. He stormed out of the office, shouting,
"You poisonous bitch!"
His insults echoed down the hallway. He accused Margaret of being cold and heartless, destined to be abandoned by love. Margaret replied calmly,
I fired you because you're lazy, entitled, incompetent, and you spend more time cheating on your wife than you do in your office.
Her words left him completely speechless. At the company, Margaret was known for being aggressive and controlling. Although her methods were hard for employees to accept, her exceptional performance always earned tolerance from the boss. But this time, she made a serious mistake. Buried in work, she forgot to submit her visa renewal paperwork. Her visa expired, and immigration decided to deport her. For Margaret, it was devastating. Even worse, the shareholders decided that once she was deported, the recently fired deputy editor would replace her. The company needed an editor-in-chief, and he was the only one with experience. Margaret strongly opposed the decision, but the shareholders had no alternative. At that critical moment, Andy walked into the office. Looking at him, Margaret had a bold idea. She claimed she was about to marry Andy, who was an American citizen.
We're getting married.
Who is getting married?
You and I are getting married.
The shareholders were shocked, but they congratulated her. As long as they registered the marriage quickly, Margaret could obtain legal status and remain in the United States. After leaving the office, Margaret immediately pulled Andy aside and explained the fake marriage plan. She practically ordered him to agree. The reason was simple. If she was deported, the deputy editor would fire Andy immediately. Andy was stunned. He had no romantic interest in Margaret, but thinking about the job he had sacrificed 3 years for, he reluctantly agreed. Once the required time passed, they could end the marriage immediately. They soon went to immigration to register the marriage. The officer instantly noticed they lacked any real chemistry. He warned them that marriage fraud for a green card was a serious crime, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Andy became extremely nervous. Margaret responded quickly. She said they were going to Andy's hometown that weekend to celebrate his grandmother's 90th birthday and announced the marriage to the family. After the tension eased, Andy gathered his courage and made up a romantic story. He said that after years of working overtime together, he had slowly fallen in love with Margaret. Their performance barely passed, but the officer warned them they would be interviewed separately in a week. Any false detail would result in prison. After leaving immigration, Andy felt deeply unbalanced. He believed he was taking a huge risk and deserved more in return. He demanded a promotion. Margaret had no choice but to compromise. She promised to promote him once the green card was secured, but Andy felt her attitude lacked sincerity, so he pushed further.
Ask me nicely.
Ask me nicely what?
Ask me nicely to marry you.
To Andy's surprise, the once untouchable CEO lowered herself and asked him to marry her. For the first time, Andy felt victorious. Soon after, Margaret flew with Andy to his hometown. On the plane, she openly mocked his family's financial situation and insisted they live in her luxury apartment after marriage. She believed Andy's salary was too low for decent living conditions. Andy remained calm. After 3 years together, he was used to her personality. Still, Margaret felt uneasy. She had no idea how to face his poor relatives. The plane landed quickly. Andy's grandmother was already already waiting outside the fence. His mother warmly welcomed Margaret. They drove through winding mountain roads and arrived at a small town. Margaret soon noticed something strange. Every store name began with Andy's surname. It was obvious. Most of the businesses were tied to his family. What she didn't know was that this was only the beginning. Back on his home turf, Andy started acting differently. He no longer spoke to Margaret carefully. Instead, he watched her embarrassment with amusement. They soon boarded a yacht. Margaret's doubts grew stronger. Was this really Andy's home? As they passed a stone cliff, a towering castle appeared. Her suspicion was confirmed. Andy was indeed rich. To welcome their son home after 3 years, the family prepared a grand feast. Margaret met Andy's father for the first time. He was stern and serious. He strongly opposed Andy's decision to work as an assistant and openly mocked his job. Andy was used to it. During the party, Andy announced his engagement to Margaret. Amid cheers, guests urged them to kiss to avoid suspicion. They complied. Andy never realized it was Margaret's first kiss. In that romantic moment, the two unlikely partners began to feel something real. That night, Andy's mother prepared a quiet room for them. In front of the family, Margaret felt awkward, but didn't refuse. After everyone left, Andy slept on the floor, sharing a room with his boss for the first time. Both struggled to sleep. The next morning, Margaret was awakened by a ringing phone. Worried about waking Andy, she stepped outside to answer it, forgetting to close the door. A very expensive dog followed her out and started barking loudly. Suddenly, an eagle swooped down and grabbed the dog. Margaret chased it while still on the phone. In desperation, she threw her phone and managed to save the dog. The eagle then grabbed her phone and flew away. The family misunderstood the scene and thought she was playing with the dog. They believed she loved animals. Andy was surprised to see such a cute side of her. Margaret explained everything and said the eagle stole her phone. Andy was skeptical, but told her the family would take her to town the next day to buy a new one. In front of the family, they continued pretending to be affectionate, living together every day. Their relationship became increasingly subtle. Margaret revealed her true self. She spoke about being called a witch by the deputy editor. Though she appeared strong, the words hurt deeply. Whenever it happened, she cried alone in the bathroom.
You are a very, very beautiful woman.
She then shared her past. At 16, she lost both parents. Since then, flowers had become painful reminders of their funeral. By the fireplace, their hearts slowly connected. Love took root quietly. The next morning, loud knocking startled them. To avoid exposure, Margaret rushed Andy back into bed. They weren't discovered. Unexpectedly, Andy's parents announced a grand wedding would be held the next day, combined with his grandmother's birthday celebration. They tried to refuse, but his grandmother came out trembling, expressing her wish to see her grandson married in her lifetime. They couldn't say no. Andy feared the truth would crush his family. Margaret stayed composed on the surface, but inside she was terrified. She told herself it was just a deal, yet she had fallen for Andy. Margaret was taken to the family's bridal shop. They chose a vintage wedding dress. Andy's mother cried on the spot. The grandmother then handed Margaret a family heirloom, passed down for 150 years. Margaret was overwhelmed. She felt warmth she hadn't known in years, along with guilt. Later, Margaret found Andy and started the yacht. Days with his family filled her with joy and unease. Andy sensed her emotions and rushed to the controls. Suddenly, a buoy appeared. He turned sharply, and Margaret fell into the water.
Come here, gotta get warm. Come on. Come on. It's okay.
They rushed home, only to be summoned to the warehouse. Immigration officers had arrived and informed Andy's father of the fake marriage. The officer offered leniency if Andy told the truth. Andy stood by Margaret. He said they had worked together for 3 years and started dating 6 months ago. If they doubted it, they were welcome at the wedding, surrounded by flowers and applause. The wedding began. The grandmother walked Margaret down the aisle. As the officiant spoke, Margaret interrupted. She revealed a shocking secret that would change their lives forever. Want to know what happens next? Follow me. The rest of the story is coming soon.